have missed you guys. We are back for another season of Candid Conversation with Charisa. I am your girl, your friend, your coach, your trainer, Charisa Monroe Wilborn, and I am excited to be bringing to you season 7. And guess what? We are continuing to bring you real, to bring you raw, to bring you deep truths about life, about family, about fun, about relationships, leadership, and purpose. And I get to do what I love best, answer your questions. You, my community, have been rocking with me for some time. And I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I hear you. And I want you to know that I understand you. You are not alone. So the questions you have, if I can answer them, if I can help inspire and motivate you, that's why I am here. So make sure you are watching Candid Conversations with Charisa every week for the next few weeks, just in case I am answering your question, or just in case I'm answering a question you didn't think you needed the answer to. Make sure you grab a friend, make sure you grab a family member, pen and paper, take notes, whatever you do to get your transformation and your breakthrough right here on this season of Candid Conversation with Charisa. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. See you soon. Welcome back. Look who's back, guys. It is my beautiful husband, Destry Wilborn, who is joining us yet again. You guys enjoyed him so much the last episode, and so I thought it was great to bring him back to answer yet another community question. Hey, honey, how are you?
I'm well. I know you said people enjoyed me, but I didn't get any fan mail, so I don't know if they did or not. But
They
thanks
did.
did it?
I did. The comments were raving.
Oh, raving.
They loved it.
Raving were they?
They were raving. Raving.
Raving are they? Okay.
Raving.
All right.
And so, yes, we're answering yet another question from the community. And I just love the community. They're so interactive, so supportive. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving back to them. And one of the ways that I get to give back to you guys is to truly hear your voice, is to truly see you. And I want you to know that I see you. I read your comments. I'm really, really concerned about what it is you want to hear from me and what you want to hear from us. And so today the question is how to lead when no one is following. Imagine how to lead when no one is following. And you and I have talked about this, and we were trying to make sure that we decipher what we really, really, really mean. Mm-hmm. And so if you were to describe what the question means first, so they know what angle we're coming from.
Okay. Well, as I said before, partially I don't understand the question, right? Because if the question is, how to lead when no one's following, right? And so I say first we have to ask, what is leadership? We say that's simply the ability to influence others through our words and actions, right? So if we're influencing others, that means someone is actually always following. Someone is always watching, right? Whether or not that is up close and personal or it's from a distance, right? So I don't think the question is, well, they pose the question the way they pose the question. So we'll just answer it like that. But I think a couple of things. One, because we're all leaders in some right, meaning we're always influencing someone else, right? But the flip side of that is leadership is also about servanthood. So the question becomes, who are you serving? So I think many times we're looking at leadership from a perspective of, hey, I am out front, which can be true, right? But in my out front, I am being seen. I have the ability to guide and direct, which is great. But the greatest leader, I don't want to make this super, religious, but the greatest leader of us all, Jesus Christ, obviously served, right? He said, I came not to be served, but to serve. So the question then becomes, who are you serving, right? Because that is where, in many regards, where your skills are honed and they're sharpened, right? It's you're serving someone else, and it's in your serving of others that not only do you develop your own leadership style, but at the same time, it is where you begin to pick up more followers, if that answers that question.
And on the tail end of that, when I think about how to lead when no one is following, it's almost as though because it reminds me of self-leadership, because we had talked about, leadership begins in the dark.
In the dark.
And not only leading to gain followers. And I think there are a lot of leaders, there are a lot of people that are only trying to lead, and they're trying to lead in places of high positions and titles because they just want to get followers, or especially in a world where now we have social media and Instagram and digital technology where the numbers matter. The amount of followers you have matter, the amount of content you have matter, the amount of likes and comments you have matter. And so people are trying to put themselves in the leading status of these things so that they can gain so many followers, not knowing that sometimes you really and truly can be gaining a whole bunch of followers of people who aren't for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you think about leadership beginning in the dark, it's no different than me talking about a different episode. I talk about self-leadership and how do you practice that. A lot of things that we do in our lives happen in the dark. If people only knew what we were doing in the dark, would they truly follow us? Mm-hmm. I think that's really, when you think about the question, like how to lead when no one is following. If people opened your door, if people peeped through the window, or if they can see through the peephole of your door, would they still follow you? Would you still gain them as a follower? When I think about leadership beginning in the dark, it's based on character.
Mm-hmm.
And are you the same person in the dark and the light? Are you the same person behind closed doors? Are you the same person when no one is looking, when no one is following? And I love that you said, whether we think it or not, someone is always watching. True. Someone is always following. I think about my daughter right now. I feel like she's by my side all the time. And though she cannot speak, though I think there's things that I say that she don't understand, though I may believe that things you and I do around her, she doesn't understand, therefore we can do some stuff in the dark, per se, I won't be surprised if she's picking up a lot more than I think she is. I wouldn't be surprised if she's understanding a lot more than she's expressing, and we're actually thinking we can get away with this, and this because, oh, she don't understand, or, oh, she isn't paying attention. But really and truly, people are watching us. They're watching your every move. I remember when my dad was very much alive, one of the best mentoring moments that I had with him would be when I'm just in his vicinity. Mm-hmm. I'm in his space. I'm in the room with him, and I'm just observing him with everybody else. I'm observing how he responds to other leaders. I'm observing how he responds to other people in the room and the people who want to come and say hi. Like, I'm just sitting in the back just watching and observing. And that's me. That's him saying nothing to me. He's doing nothing to me, but I'm watching him lead in his behavior. I'm watching him lead in his responses. I'm watching him lead in his facial expression. I'm watching him lead in just allowing people to be who they are around him. And he, as far as he's concerned, I'm not following him. I'm not watching. He has no clue. He has no clue. But he's doing these things not knowing that I'm watching. He could have very well been mistreating people. He could have very well been cursing people out. He could have been very well making people feel unwanted and unseen. But he wasn't. Even when he didn't know I was watching, he was still being so honorable to people. He was still being a friend to people. He was still lending a hand to people, not even knowing that I was watching.
But I think that goes back to what we said a number of episodes ago, right? The whole idea about discipleship. So he was discipling you the entire time. And I want to take maybe you and your father's relationship and juxtapose that to, oftentimes what you're hearing with other, and it doesn't even have to be PKs, but we'll use that example right now, where many PKs fall away because they say, okay, they're watching their parent do something on a Sunday morning, but that isn't lining up with who they're seeing at home Monday through Saturday. And eventually that child ends up walking away, right? Because of the contradiction, right? Because of what they're seeing and what they're hearing aren't the same thing. And so I think to your point with our daughter, I'm going to correct you there because you said my daughter, like she doesn't have a father. Our daughter, I recognize that she's always watching, right?
Always watching.
I'm believing her to always understand. And this is why I think very early on, I would talk to her and you'd be like, she doesn't understand any of that. She understands. I'd be having full-blown conversations with her at 3 and 4 weeks old. Like, oh, she's not understanding. Yeah, she'll understand. Part of it is this. If I'm honest, I'm trying to get myself in the practice of having conversations with her, right? But the idea, before we get off track, but the idea of discipleship and disciple making, it is always happening. But your key point is, number one, you said something, and I don't want to go back to this, because every time you talked about social media and gaining followers, right? But usually, what is that attached to? They want more followers because the followers, there's a monetary value attached to the number of followers they have. That's the only reason they're interested in followers, right? For the most part. Because the more likes I get, the more followers I get, I can monetize my channel, so forth and so on. So if the only reason you're looking to gain followers and gain influence is so you can gain revenue, I don't want to say it's a bad thing, because again, money is needed, right? But there has to be a different reason why. What is the why behind what you're doing? And so I'll go back to the other question again, is who are you serving, right? Because it is in your servanthood that, again, your leadership gets developed. And we're always leading something or someone somewhere. The question is, where are we going, right? And who's following us to get there? Because at the end of the day, I'll reference a conversation that I had a little while ago. It was like every leader's job eventually should be to work themselves out of a job, right? If you are doing it right, and if you're really discipling someone, and we talk about the old proverbial pass the baton, every leader should be working. He or she should eventually make themselves useless. If what you're doing can only survive if you are there, you're in bad shape. That's bad leadership. So your goal, our goals as leaders, should always be discipling someone to take the baton, who could take over, so we should be able to step away at any time. And referencing that conversation, I'd mentioned to the guy, say, hey, I've trained this guy up so well that I'm actually useless now. Like, as a matter of fact, he does it better than I did it. And I think, to me, that is the greatest compliment, to say, oh, you know what? I've trained this guy up now, and he's actually better at doing the job than I am, and I'm actually useless now. That's a compliment to yourself, I believe it should be.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about servanthood earlier, and there's a statement that you always make. I think you heard it from someone else, and I loved it. And I think it's another way to lead when no one is following. Because I don't think people know that the best way to lead when no one is following, in the vein of servanthood, is to actually make sure that you are a follower yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so people always know, because yes, you are a leader, but who are you following? Who are you being led by? The higher authority can't be yourself. The higher authority shouldn't be yourself. And just how people are following you as their leader, as their mentor, as their coach, as their trainer, you want to make sure, watch and observe, that they are also following someone as well as their mentor and their trainer and their coach and their teacher. And I'm so grateful for my dad, who as famous and as prominent, as special as profound as he was of a teacher, of a leader, of a trainer, of a mentor, he himself had mentors that he was under. He himself had people of authority that he made sure that held him accountable, because he knew that it was going to be so important for, if I'm going to be leading. And it's almost as though the more followers you have, the more accountability you need, the more mentorship you need, the more coaching and training you need as the leader. Because if you fail, there's so much riding on your success, on your sustained success. Because there are many times we get to the mountain and we can do one thing, and just like that, we can drop to the bottom. And so that statement that you always made, I think you got it from Alex. I want you to say that statement and then say how important it is in this regard.
The statement is, you cannot lead effectively if you've never followed faithfully. You know, as you were talking, I was thinking of like many organizations, many churches, many businesses have failed because the person at the top had no one holding them accountable, right? The mentor did not have a mentor. And I think, you know, the crazy thing is, I think oftentimes people believe that's a wonderful relationship, the mentor-mentee. But I also think in many regards that the mentor-mentee will probably be the toughest relationship you'll ever have, right? Because oftentimes there's tension in that relationship, right? And this is why I said, like, your mentor cannot be your friend. Your friends love you the way you are. Your mentor loves you too much to leave you the way you are. So the mentor is going to always push and challenge you to be uncomfortable, right? So I think that's where the tension in that relationship is. But the idea of leadership is, I can only lead from a position that I'm familiar with, right? Which means if I have not been faithful in my servanthood, if I have not been faithful in serving someone, the chances of me being faithful in my leadership are going to be slim to none. I haven't practiced my faithful muscles yet, so to speak. And so I usually say, you know, we're again all assigned to a person or group of people. How do we know who or what we are assigned to? But you find somebody doing the thing that you want to do and say, okay, let me serve that person. But here's the hiccup. But your motives for serving them have to be pure. It can't be, I only want to serve this person so I can use their platform to elevate myself. Well, I only want to serve this person because it'll open other doors for me. In reality, that may be the case. It will open doors for you because it's going to put you in positions to receive things that you aren't qualified to receive based on, you know, who you're serving. But that can't be your motive going into it. Your motive going into it has to be pure. Say, okay, I really admire what this person is doing. I see them going somewhere. What can I do to help them get there? And I think that is the whole idea of servanthood that puts you in position to be a better, more effective, and more faithful leader.
Especially when no one is following.
Yes.
Yes. So if you had to encourage a young man, a young woman, an older man, an older woman, a seasoned man, a seasoned woman on leading when they only have a few followers. I know you, and I love the fact that you're big on knowing your leadership, even when you're not in front, when you don't have a title, when your name isn't known. How encourage a young man and a young woman who is saying, man, I'm doing so much and no one sees me.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like I've already said, somebody is seeing you. I was going to, for a moment, be real cheesy and steal, Nike's slogan and say, just do it. But in reality, there's some truth to that slogan, just doing it. And I remember listening to a talk once, and the guy was from Nike, I believe the CEO, and he'd ask, how many people get up and run, X number of times a week, and half the audience stands up. Say, okay, well, how many people run 3 times a week? Half the folks sit down. Then he asks it once again, well, how many people run, no matter what rain, shine, or snow, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're out there? And then you have maybe 1 or 2 people who raise their hand. And he said, that's who Nike is for. Nike is for that guy who is out there at 3 o'clock in the morning doing it when nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. You think we're about champions. No, we're for the regular guy who's out there when nobody's watching doing the work. And that's where they got the slogan from, just do it. Wow. And so if you're leading those 2 or 3 people, I think it's absolutely wonderful because it affords you the opportunity to focus on those 2 or 3 people. Is that good enough, honey?
That is wonderful. Thank you, my love.
It's good enough for government work.
I hope you are encouraged. Remember, whether you believe you are a leader, whether your name is known, whether people see you, whether you're behind the scenes, whether you're on top, whether you're the CEO or the janitor, there's always someone watching. There's always someone observing, and there's always someone following. And remember, like Destry said, just do it. You've just watched yet another inspiring, transformational episode of Candid Conversations with Charisa. And I hope that the principles and concepts in the episode are some that encourage you to take actionable steps to change and transform your life today. Don't be stingy. Make sure you are sharing and liking what you are hearing so that others can be a part of this community too. Make sure you are back here next week for another great episode of Candid Conversations with Charisa. See you next time.